Welcome to part 3 of my Best of Next Fest June 2025 edition. We have another video of more indie game demos worth checking out, and with that, let's get this started. We're starting things off with Ratatan. This is the spiritual successor to Patapon, a rhythm, action, kind of like strategy almost style game. The developers went on a Kickstarter and it succeeded, and the demo is now up on Steam Next Fest. In this one, you will be once again commanding your adorable little creatures here to murder and destroy things very happily to the beat. Now, there are some major differences between this one and Patapon. There's more of a roguelite aspect, both in terms of the stage design and meta progression. You'll be once again exploring different stages, choosing where you're going to be going. In between the different levels or rooms, you can find randomly chosen upgrades that will give your Ratatans different properties or different impacts. If you did not play Patapon, the basic rule here is that you're going to be issuing commands to your group by the different beats. So each set of beat combos gives a different order. So if you want them to jump, you have one command, attack, specials, and so on. After each fight, you'll be able to re-equip your Ratatans with any gear that is dropped from the different enemies, as well as change your squad. There are persistent upgrades in terms of starting with more health, having more Ratatans to begin with, and I'm sure plenty more as well. Now, while this game looks so adorable while characters scream out murder and destroy things, it can be a bit challenging. Part of it is that there's a very noticeable delay between when you can issue a command, as you can see by the moving of the rhythm bar at the bottom of the screen. So what can end up happening is if an enemy starts an attack while you're in the middle of issuing a command, there is no way for you to order your Ratatans to get out of the way. You cannot kind of cancel into another command, if that makes any sense. Now, fortunately, even if your Ratatans are killed, they will once again respawn from your lovely talking ship that follows you in the background. The only time that you'll lose is if your main character goes. And unlike the Patapon games, you are actually like an active combatant, so you can move around and dodge attacks accordingly, and guide them to avoid attacks as well. So this one is a bit rough in terms of onboarding. A lot of the progression stuff is just simply not mentioned, especially the gear side. And it kind of leaves you to just like stumble around till you figure things out on your own. Still, once you get into this one, it is very quite charming. I would also advise you not to play this other than wearing a headset unless you have other people around, as you can probably start to drive someone crazy with all the Ratatans all over the place. So if you're a rhythm fan and you want a little bit of music to go with your death and destruction of all the bad guys around you, then give this one a try. We leave the happy and whimsical for some dark survival horror with Tormented Souls 2. The first one was a shockingly great love letter to old school survival horrors like the original Resident Evil and Alone in the Dark. And our sequel here kind of is going to be following in that same trend. We are now in what appears to be a convent. And unfortunately, as it turns out, the nuns are not exactly very easygoing. They have kidnapped our sister, they've left us with no idea what's going on, and we are going to have to once again enter the world of survival horror in order to get out. Now, if you missed the first game, this again is more in line with older survival horror games. So this is not an action horror like Resident Evil 4 and some of the other ones that we've checked out. Instead, you're going to be spending a lot of time looking for clues, items, and combat is kept very much on the slower side. Now, you do have kind of improvement that you can now move while you're aiming to try and get around enemy attacks. Like the first game, darkness is not your friend, and if you stay in the dark too long, you will die. So you must be lighting any light sources around. You have your lovely little lighter that you will equip. However, of course, when you're using a lighter, you can't use a weapon. So there is that dynamic of being in the light in order to deal with all the crazy monsters on the way. Now, it's hard to tell from the demo what else is kind of new in terms of a mechanics or new gameplay. There are of course new enemy types, and the world still has that really great kind of like, decrepit look and feel to it. So if you don't mind a lot of blood and again some spookiness, I would definitely give this one a play, and if this is the first time you're hearing of Tormented Souls as a series, I would still recommend you check out the first game if you missed it, and you're looking for kind of that return to the slower paced style of survival horror. And with that, we're going to switch over to Morsels. This is an action roguelike, kind of similar to that of like Enter the Gungeon, or there's one that we played was almost like a claymation style from I think a few years ago. We live in a world where magic cards have dropped in and have completely changed society. Everyone is trying to get them to give them the power to rule, and we play just a tiny little mouse who has found a card, and we're going to try and rise up through the food chain and take things over. The game itself has you switching between different forms using cards that you find. Each character or each card has its own style, its own way of attacking, special moves, etc, etc. And if you kill enough enemies, you can upgrade the card, transforming into a more evolved form that grants it more attack and additional properties. I absolutely love the art style in this one. It reminds me a lot of Atomicrops. And from what we played, you'll unlock additional characters and artifacts that can show up. One slight complaint is that the artifacts seem to correspond to specific characters, and the game didn't quite tell you, or at least I didn't see it, if it alerts you if the artifact corresponds to one of the characters that you have. Now, in terms of difficulty, it's a little bit hard to say. Each one of your characters, or your kind of cards themselves, has its own health bar. So if a character runs out, you lose that card. So if you don't properly upgrade all your cards, or you leave yourself in a weakened spot, you can be in trouble if you lose your favorite character. One slight nitpick is that because of how great the art style is or how unique, everything sometimes like blurs together, especially when there's a lot of enemies and projectiles on the screen. With that said, I'm still very interested to see where this one is going to go, and I will definitely be looking forward to playing more of it. So if you are an action roguelike fan looking for a very stylized take, then you definitely want to give this one a play. We now go to Meganaut. This is from the same developer of Lorne's Lure, the very atmospheric and very challenging 3D or first-person platforming game from 2024. But we are slowing things down and I guess floating around for this one. We are in search of our friend, who went missing in kind of the outskirts, and we're going to float very slowly through incredibly ominous environments to figure out what happened to them. This one is definitely not going to be for the platforming fans, and it's definitely more on the story-driven side. You'll be following the route and clues from people in order to solve puzzles and go deeper and deeper into the kind of no man's land. Expect spookiness, jump scares, and a whole lot of darkness all around you. The demo itself was quite short, and we didn't really get to see a lot in terms of gameplay or additional elements. I do wish our little floating that you see here would be a little bit faster, as there's a lot to do. Still, it's a very atmospheric game. If you're looking for some horror, and you're not claustrophobic or, well, I guess afraid of heights, then you definitely want to give this one a play. We now switch over to Okko the Exiled. This is an action platform where you play as Okko here, a demon boy who is exploring kind of the demon realm, trying to figure out what is happening and his greater role in things. And he's going to have to jump, stomp, and hit a lot of things with his club to do so. Another game with a really interesting art style. I love the pixel art that we see in it. It's hard to tell if this is just going to be like a stage-by-stage game or a stage-based Metroidvania from the demo. You'll be exploring looking for various gems that you can use to purchase new upgrades, as well as other items. The focus here is on combat and jumping. You can bounce off of different enemies to be used as part of a platform, as well as use your club to, well, beat them up. You can knock things back at enemies as well, and you also have kind of like a special gauge that you see in the bottom left that you can go into kind of blood mode or hard mode, that whenever you time the attack properly, you'll gain increased damage and very increased damage against that enemy. But the weird thing is that it's in the bottom left corner, so it's hard to keep track of that while you're trying to fight other enemies. I would like some kind of indicator on Okko when it is at like the proper time. This one, it's kind of hard to get a read from the demo. The levels feel quite long, but it's hard to tell if you're supposed to be replaying them to find additional stuff, or if it's just go from level to level. Still a very interesting take. If you don't mind the rhythm kind of sub-combat or minigame style, I would give this one a try. I am interested in checking out the full game. And for the last game of the day showcase, we go to Samurai Blitz EX. This is an endless runner full of samurai slashing action. Your job is to defeat all the demons that are standing in your running path, along with an adorable animal companion. Before each play, you can choose from different starting conditions, including your sword and your companion, which affects how you deal with combat and a special perk respectively. During the play, you can run, jump, double jump, and you have melee and kunai blades predominantly. The kunai blades charge off of your melee hits, and you can also pick up kind of special powers. All in all, this one is very charming to play. It's not going to be like super high depth in terms of its combat mechanics. My only real complaint is that because you're constantly attacking horizontally, you have this case where you can try and hit an enemy who's slightly above, slightly below your character, and you just cannot hit them other than with the kunai. I'm interested to see kind of like how far the main game is going to go. The demo basically gave us like 3 levels to play, and not really too much in terms of like advanced elements, different difficulty modifiers, etc, etc. But still a very charming game nonetheless, and I would recommend this if you're looking for some very much running with your slashing to do. And with that, another part of our Next Fest coverage comes to an end. Let me know what you think about these games down below and what some of your favorites are from the event, and I will see everyone for our next Fest stream and more showcase videos to come. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and if you're interested in more in my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.